so too in lane number 3 is Steve Lewis, but Redmond's got off very fast indeed, and so too is Ismail of Qatar. Down the back straight, he's the fractional leader. Father of Nigeria has gone very quickly, and Redmond has broken down. He's on the track, kneeling down, and Derek Redmond, on his injury problem, the jinx has struck again.
Hello, yes, it's true. Derek Redmond did suffer a hamstring strain. Now, are there any questions?
Doctor.
Yes.
What is a hamstring strain?
Well, in layman's terms, it's a tear in the muscle that can occur in different degrees and grades.
Doctor.
Yes?
Where can this tear occur?
Well, the majority of hamstring strains occur in the bicep femoris muscle and the muscle tendon junction.
Doctor, can you explain the biomechanics behind this injury?
Yes. During maximal sprinting, the hamstring becomes highly active in the terminal swing phase, as they work eccentrically to decelerate the swinging tibia and the knee extension. The hamstring then remains active in the initial stance phase, where they work concentrically as an extensor of the hip joint. During sprinting, the point of failure is most likely to occur during the terminal swing phase prior to foot strike. It is at this point that hamstrings maximally activate and approach peak length. Now, there's no more time for further questions.
Will he ever be able to run again?
Put your hands in the air, so stick up, touch the ceiling, baby. Put your hands in the air, so stick up, touch the ceiling, baby. Oh hot damn, this is my jam.
Welcome to Sports Inquiry, everyone. Today with us we have Derek Redmond and his doctor, Dr. Sadowski. Now, Derek was a 400-meter sprinter from the '92 Olympics in Barcelona. Derek suffered from a severe hamstring strain during competition, and it was quite severe that he could not continue running. Now, Derek, it's been 2 years since that race. Are you doing anything different this time around with your training?
What do you think are the 3 training components which Derek made changes to?
Well, thanks to my training staff and team doctors, there are 3 components I've changed in my training regimen, specifically my warm-up, strength training, and flexibility.
Well, Dr. Sadowski, what have you done with Derek's warm-up routine as a means of prevention from recurrent hamstring strains?
Well, according to research, isometric warm-up before exercise has the potential to assist in preventing muscle strain injury. One research looked at isometrically preconditioned, as in stimulated versus controlled non-stimulated muscles in rabbits. Muscles which were stimulated required more force to fail than the control muscles. Preconditioned muscles can be stretched to a greater length from rest before failing in comparison to non-preconditioned muscles. Derek performed a heel-to-toe exercise among many other isometric warm-up exercises. Heel-to-toe exercise. The heel-to-toe exercise is done from a standing position. To start this exercise, you will place your left hand on a counter or table for balance. Lift your right foot off of the floor and rest your heel against the toes of your left foot. Keep a slight bend in your knee. Forcefully push your heel back against your toes. Hold this position until you feel fatigued. Then switch sides. Other isometric warm-up exercises which can be performed include pull-back holds, wall chair isometric hamstring stretch, isometric hamstring bend.
Okay, well that's interesting. Now Derek mentioned he also made some changes with his flexibility training. What's your new focus, Derek?
Stretching my quads.
Okay.
Well, what he means to say is he performed an active quadricep stretch. But before I get into that, I'm going to further discuss his flexibility program in detail. The flexibility program is significant in reducing the occurrence of injury because a greater level of flexibility is correlated to a reduced risk of injury during high-speed running. Flexibility gains are significantly greater in athletes that maintain a stretch program in addition to their workouts. According to Moroni, who performed a randomized control trial, both active and passive stretching has an effect on hamstring flexibility while following a stretch program. In fact, active stretching shows a greater effect than passive stretching does on hamstring flexibility following stretch programs. In the study, it showed that flexibility level retention after 4 weeks was nearly perfect with active stretches, whereas passive stretching showed a reduction in flexibility after 4 weeks. The benefit of active stretching compared to passive stretching are assumed to be due to the effect of agonist and antagonist muscle group activation and inhibition during active stretching, which are absent in passive stretching. With hamstring strains, both hamstring and quadricep flexibility are correlated to hamstring injury, as was found by Gabe in research in Australian football. It was found that quadricep is actually a stronger predictor. An example of a flexibility exercise in which Derek performed is...
Can you think of examples of flexibility exercises?
The active stretch for the hamstring. From an elevated seated position, with the legs over the edge of the ledge, maintain a neutral seated position while extending one leg until a stretch is felt. Hold the stretch position for 30 seconds and release. Perform them on alternating sides. Repeat 2 to 4 times per session. Getting back to Derek's comment on his quads, he performed an active standing quadricep stretch. While in a standing position, use the hamstrings, flex the leg at the knee so that the ankle is brought up towards your butt. To deepen the stretch, you can assist with your hand on your ankle, but to be active, you must engage the hamstring to hold the position.
Now, I've heard that hamstring strains or recurrent hamstring strains are quite common, and in fact, there's known to be quite a vicious cycle if the athlete doesn't make up the strength deficit lost after an injury as such. Now, what can you tell me about the importance of the changes he's made in strength training?
Well, Sarah, you're right about the vicious cycle. The reoccurrence rate of hamstring strains is exceptionally high. A vicious cycle with reoccurrent hamstring injuries is not uncommon, resulting in a chronic problem with significant morbidity in terms of symptoms, reduced performance, and time lost from sports. Hence, prevention of the first as well as repeated hamstring injuries is important. Previous hamstring injury, especially when rehabilitation is inadequate, places an athlete at increased risk of suffering injury to the hamstring. Muscle strengthening is very crucial in the rehabilitation and prevention of a hamstring injury. Muscle strengthening needs to be specific for deficits in motor unit recruitment, muscle bulk, type of contraction, and ability to develop tension at speeds. Research has shown that eccentric hamstring strengthening exercises improve eccentric hamstring strength, and this exercise strategy has subsequently been used to investigate prevention of hamstring strains. There are many studies about hamstring strains from other sports such as soccer. In an intervention study comparing elite soccer teams which incorporated eccentric exercises versus teams that did not, there was an overall decrease of hamstring strain incidences by 65%. There was also a decrease in the incidence of hamstring strains when comparing the same team before and after intervention program. The exercise that we used with Derek for the strength training, which is the most investigated preventative technique, is the Nordic eccentric lowers exercise. In a paper that looked at comparing a concentric versus eccentric hamstring training program, eccentric exercises have been shown to be more effective than traditional concentric strengthening. Eccentric exercises are ideal because they decelerate the high angular velocity. By using the Nordic hamstring training program, after a couple of weeks, he was able to stop the downward motion completely before touching the ground by just using his hamstrings alone, even after being pushed by a partner at considerable speed.
In partners, give the Nordic hamstring lowers exercise a try. Can you think of any other eccentric hamstring exercises? Now please take a minute and discuss with your classmates around you the 3 main prevention techniques to hamstring strains. Excellent. Now see if you can list or demonstrate at least one exercise for each of the 3 prevention techniques. Hopefully from this presentation you're able to recognize the 3 main prevention techniques as being modifying the following training components: warm-up, flexibility program, and strength training program, Examples of exercises of the three components displayed in this video include the heel-toe exercise, active quadricep stretch, and Nordic eccentric lowers.